Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, right here on 92.9 KVRE, streaming online at kvre.com and on iHeartRadio. Alongside Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Happy Saturday to you. Tracy, I suspect that you and the family were able to survive all the snow and ice this week back in the studio once again.
Well, man, I tell you what, nothing like it in the world. Snow is one thing, but the ice, Mark, you know what? Ice I can do without. It needs to belong one place in the freezer, okay? That's it. Or my ice chest when I'm cutting up a deer or something like that. Thought I was going somewhere else, didn't you, on that one?
Yeah, you never tell whenever it's Tracy. Cutting up a deer.
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Give my deer a cold. Ice chest, okay. Anyway, our soda pop, okay. Anyway, we got a big show today. You know what? Speaking of the weather, we had a lot of stuff going on this weekend because of the inclement weather. A lot of postponements, delays, and such like that. And one of the biggies was over at Jeffsonville.
Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. It may be ice cold outside, but there is a basketball team right here in Garland County that has been absolutely red hot right now. It's the end of February, so you know what that means. Playoff basketball and the state tournament are right around the corner. And joining us this week on the show is the head coach of the Red Hot Lions of Jessieville High School, Coach Jared White. Coach, congratulations on a great run so far this season. It is far from over, we assume. And new conference? No problem. Tell us a little bit more about you and the guys this season.
Yes, I appreciate it. Appreciate the coverage. We're just kind of that blue-collar group this year. We have two seniors, Zen Dinger and Bryson Johnson, and they've kind of led us most of the year. We've, like you said, we've joined a new conference, took a couple of familiar conference foes with us, and then we had about 5 or 6 new teams, and we've had some good success.
Coach, you were talking about earlier in the pre-interview, blue collar is one thing, and there, you got a couple of kids that, a little bit of do more rebounding, do more shooting, do more scoring, but overall, everybody's about equal on the floor. You guys, you're talking about looking at the scoreboard afterwards and looking at the paperwork, and everybody pitches in, and that's what's making this team complete.
Yes, like I told you earlier, we when we're at our best, we look into the box score, and it's 4 or 5 different guys that have done the scoring, the majority of it close to double figures. We do have multiple guys that can put the ball in the basket. As of late, we're really shooting it well. We've had games of we hit 15 threes against Perryville, and then turn around the next night or the next game and hit 14 against Two Rivers. So multiple shot makers as well. So it's been fun. I hope we can continue the hot shooting on into postseason play.
And of course, Coach, it's been a long season. There's been a lot of hard work that's been put in behind the scenes, but you mentioned the ability for this team to shoot three-pointers. Is that kind of the bread and butter of this offense, or is that really just an added bonus to what you guys already do so well?
I would say it's came along as of late. There's been some games that we've really struggled shooting the ball. We've got in my opinion, the best big man in the conference in Emmanuel Prekop. He's a junior, about 6'5", and a really good back to the basket player. We try to go into him and play inside out. There's times where we get a little 3-ball happy, but I'd say when we shoot it well, on top of having him to go inside with, we're tough to handle.
A little bit of a change up because of the weather, Coach. Tell the fans out there what you can expect. This being Saturday, what all we got going on because of the delays, the postponements, and stuff like that? What are we seeing in the future now?
Yeah, unfortunately, the weather got us. We decided we would go ahead and push the quarterfinal games back to Saturday. Mm-hmm. We had actually been proactive and we were scheduled to start the tournament on Monday, but we moved those games up to Saturday, played those out, and then moved Tuesday's games up to Monday and played those out before the weather got to us, so it bought us a little extra time. So, in our classification in 3A, the final 4 teams of the district tournament, they get to go on to the regional tournament. And the 1 seed and the 2 seed get byes to the regional tournament. They're already in the semis of the district tournament. So we're really trying to do right by all the teams and give them a chance to play in on the court rather than just say this is the regular season seeds and this is what you do. So Saturday at 11 a.m., we're going to start the girls' games. It's going to be, I believe it's going to be Atkins and Mayflower girls, and then at 12:30, as soon as they get done, it's going to be Atkins and Baptist Prep boys. And then at 2 o'clock, we've got Harmony Grove girls and Perryville girls. And then at 3:30, we've got Harmony Grove boys and Dover boys. And the winners of those games will punch their ticket to the regional tournament. After we get those in, we're going to go ahead and just look at the seeds and seed it out from there. So there will be no finals or semifinals because we've ran out of time. We decided not to go ahead and continue to try to play. It almost is a punishment for teams to be playing on Monday and then turn around, and if you're the top seed, you're going to play on Wednesday. So you don't have any prep time for arguably the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, it makes things difficult for sure. I'm sure it's a double-edged sword for you as well, because this really kind of robs you and your fan base of an opportunity not only to play this tournament on your home court, but also really kind of like a final home game as well for the squad this season as you look ahead to, building forward to the next levels of this tournament and ultimately toward the state tournament. But also, I mean, yes, technically this moves you through to regionals. This moves you one step closer to your goal, but the cost is a little bit extra time not playing on the court. How will not playing for that long affect you and the guys? What are some of the ways that you're working to combat that, to stay ready when the region tournament begins? That first game, of course, like you said, being the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, you make some really good points, and that was a concern. We played Friday at England, and then obviously we had a bye until Friday. Obviously, that's not going to happen in our tournament. So, yeah, we won't get to play, and the first time we will play will be, it'll be 10 days. We were out of school Tuesday, and we were kind of proactive on that. We got the kids up and we went for a little over an hour, started at 7 a.m. Tuesday, and we had a really good turnout. We got up and down and stole a day, essentially, to kind of stay sharp, keep our legs, all that good stuff. And it's looking like maybe tomorrow. If not, we're gonna go ahead and get on the practice floor again Saturday. So I think the kids are focused. I think they're staying active, doing the things they need to do. And I don't think it's going to be too big of a setback, but it was a concern for sure, the layoff.
Now, Coach, let's rewind a little bit and some of the achievements that you guys had this. I mean, with two seniors, things can go one way or the other here, but not only have you found a way to achieve success, you've also been able to utilize underclassmen to grow them to ensure that no matter where this season finishes up, that you guys are going to be ready to go to keep that momentum rolling next year. But was there any particular moment this year, either on the court, off the court, where everything really just clicked? You guys turned that page and everybody started believing in what was possible this year.
I don't know there was a specific point, but I do know that we had one of the best fields for our tournament, the Larry Ray tournament, Christmas tournament, and we had some really good ones there. We had England, number 1 in 2A, Conway Christian ranked in the top 10 in 2A. We had Warren, we had Fountain Lake, we had Blytheville. It was a loaded tournament field, and we played, two of the better teams in it. I think, and we were competitive in both games. We did lose, and that's not what we like to do, but we understood that was going to make us better and prepare us for postseason. Those type of teams are the ones we're going to be running into. So I think from then on, when we got back into conference play, we just we just started playing good ball, and we're kind of playing our best ball at the right time.
Hey, Coach, and looking into the crystal ball, I know you really don't know, but who may you see coming up this week, and who do you not want to see maybe that first game after 10 days of laying off?
Yeah, it's kind of uncharted territory. We right now, we know who the 1, 2, 3, and 4 are from the other conference that we'll be matched up with, but they're going to try to play their semifinal games and get to the semis so that they don't have to seed it out, just like what we were trying to prevent. So on paper right now, it's looking like Bald Knob at Bald Knob, which is not ideal. And a lot of coaches say that team right there is arguably the best team in the conference. They just have had some struggles and record-wise aren't where they would like to be. So that would be the matchup. They got a big kid and some guards that shoot it well. We match up pretty good to them. It's just not exciting going and playing somebody on their home floor. But then we've seen Harding Academy. They're strong, physical, have some shooters. And then there's Riverview and Leeson North. We've played some really athletic teams in prep to when we run into somebody like that we're not shell-shocked by just the athleticism and the speed of the game. So I don't know if there's anybody we are just concerned about matchup-wise. I just think we've got to figure out who that is and break down some film and get a game plan, and they got to deal with us. So that's kind of the way we look at it. They got to guard our big man, they got to guard our shooters, and they got to do it for 4 quarters. So that's what it's going to take to beat us. So that's kind of our mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. One play at a time, one game at a time, one moment at a time as you and your guys look to reach your goals this season and bring a state championship home to Garland County. Coach, before we let you go, want to ask one more question for you. Think deep here. Are there any funny or interesting stories from this season that might encapsulate what kind of year it's been for you and the guys? Help us kind of relive one of those fun moments that you've had on the floor or off the floor with your guys this season.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Nothing really that I can think of just off the top of my head, but they give each other a hard time. It's funny to watch them kind of practice. So we've got 13 guys on our team. If anybody's missing at all, you've really got, when you start playing and practicing, you mix and match, and it's starters going against starters. And, I think the funniest thing is how they can get into it and be competitive on the practice floor and then just be best friends when they get done and forget, that anything even happened. But it's a competitive group. It's a fun group. They've grown closer throughout the year, and I think one of our goals is to get to the state tournament, and we've got that opportunity. I just think that it's one of the harder working groups I've had. That I don't think that we're just overly overwhelm anybody talent wise, but we have nice pieces that work well together. So that's the best I could give you on the funny story.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you for coming on this morning. Success this year with this squad, and we sure do look forward to having many more wins, and good luck with the upcoming tournament, and we appreciate you just taking time out this morning. Go Lions. We appreciate you, brother.
Hey, appreciate y'all.
Coach Jared White of Jessieville Lions boys basketball. They'll be playing in the upcoming regional tournament, just one step away from this state tournament. Congratulations on the great run. Go Lions, and we'll be checking in with you later on in the postseason. Much more to come on our show today. Don't go anywhere. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 at KVRE and online at kvre.com. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, for segment 2 of this week's show, let's follow up on a story from November where a bill for funding student athletes failed in committee on Wednesday afternoon. I'm talking about House Bill 1044 here in the state of Arkansas, which would have allowed higher education or affiliated nonprofits to hold raffles on game day to fund scholarships or pay athletes for using their name, image, or likeness, also known as NIL. This was a bill that came about back in November. It's sponsored by State Representative and UCA graduate R.J. Hawk. The bill was intended to be a tool to help Arkansas remain competitive in the ever-changing NIL landscape. Now, typically, institutions would hold a 50-50 raffle on game day where 50% of those proceeds would go to the person holding the winning ticket and 50% goes to the university or the institution. But testimony during the House Rules Committee last week was that, the universities planned on using an app on game day to support the raffle, and that would require a changing of the law here in the state of Arkansas. Now, a day before the vote, this big social media post came out. I'm sure that you've seen it. Athletic directors for 5 Division I universities in Arkansas, the U of A in Fayetteville, ASU in Jonesboro, UALR, UAPB, and UCA, all released a joint statement supporting the bill. And while it had the support of the university, it didn't have the support from some of the people opposing the bill, particularly from members of the gaming industry who took issue with the language of the legislation. Others question its practicality and long-term impact, particularly with revenue sharing for athletes set to begin in July and increasing federal scrutiny of NIL fundraising efforts. So I'll pause right here for a moment, Tracy. So obviously we've talked about NIL so much on our show. This is kind of the wild, wild west. This is this brand new thing in college sports, and it's starting to create problems across some of the schools in the country, the Division I universities that don't have as deep of a pocketbook as other colleges and universities may have. So now players with the most talent are, as expected, going to the highest bidder, leaving some colleges and universities in the dark on what they can do in order to secure some of this top talent, whether here in the state of Arkansas. Sometimes that just means keeping Arkansan youth in Arkansas.
Well, and Mark, that's the whole ticket right there. You're absolutely right on what they went into this, and I say they, the ones that came up with this NIL at the very beginning, without really thinking this whole completely over. And it has opened up a can of worms, so to speak, not only at this level, but at every level. Because you're right, the Power Fives, they've got the money, they got everything. And for them to turn this down, okay, is one thing. But then why can't, as smart as they are, how come they can't come up with something else in order to help these local, and I say state-funded schools, to help them out? Because no, they don't have as deep pockets. That's an obvious. So as smart as these folks are, and, and I'm saying that with a smirk on my face, how come they can't come up with something else if they turn this down to help them out? Because they obviously need help. And we're always been talking about through the years, and Mark and you and I go back a long time calling games and such, and saying, hey, we're going to see that kid play, on Saturday someday or something like this. Well, and then how many of them leave the state? We've seen it time and time again. And everybody complains about them leaving the state, but then they don't want to do nothing about it. It's almost like watching an episode of 60 Minutes. They always have something that they expose, but they don't ever have an answer on how to fix it. Well, these guys need to come up with some way on how to fix this to keep these kids in state here and obviously support our local college, which produces revenue. Now, and if they want to get squeamish about a 50-50 raffle, my goodness, why don't they just look at their pockets a little bit and see what they could be giving up donation-wise, or something of that nature. I don't have the answers to it, obviously, but this is not right for them to turn something down. If they don't have the guts to come up with something, where it's going to help out the kids in the schools, because after all, here's the biggest deal: they're trying to get an education. I know everybody wants to go pro. That's obvious. Everybody wants to go pro, and you're obviously going to get a better look if you're at a bigger school. It's just that simple. And they always say, well, they'll find you if you got talent. No, that's not the case. Not always. It's just not that simple. You've got to be able to produce. There's no doubt, but you also have to have a little bit of backing. And these schools, just like you said, whether UCA or UAPB or SAU or Henderson or whoever, they've got to have a little bit to help out these kids just in order to keep them here in state, Mark. And I think they need to come up with something, just something alternative.
Now, the language of this bill specifically barred the gaming industry,
exactly.
Casinos,
right,
from being able to be involved with 50-50 raffles. Now, generally in other states, whenever you look at apples to apples, you see casinos maybe getting involved and having a hand in this. They're better equipped to handle this kind of thing because they're already working with gambling as it is.
Right.
Here in the state of Arkansas, you cannot do what's called iGaming from your mobile device. Remember, these raffles were intended to be conducted via a mobile app because thinking that would help the universities a little bit, because another problem point that I think may have doomed this bill was who's going to manage these raffles. Okay, so if you cut the casinos out, casinos can't be involved. They want this to all be housed in-house with the universities. Well, that could be a problem because that management will fall solely on the universities, and they're either going to have to create and fund an entire department in order to manage this correctly, or, which may often be the case in a lot of these situations, the existing staff, without creating a new department, would just have to take more responsibility onto their shoulders, make sure that these raffles were conducted legally and accurately, and ultimately, adding another skill set to a group of people that already work in the education department on trying to bring more money in and trying to support these athletes in a different way with different revenue streams coming in. In that joint statement, of course, I did want to quote that all of the athletic directors were in agreement that they must continue to identify innovative ways to generate support for the college athletic programs at all levels, whether it's the Razorbacks, Red Wolves, Golden Lions, Trojans, or Bears. Rallying together as a state to support our athletic programs is a collective win for Arkansas and the teams that we love to cheer for. I love that the 5 ADs were all in on this in support. That was not enough to get this across the finish line. And while at face value, the bill's failure feels and seems like a setback for Arkansas schools looking to bolster those NIL efforts, this may not necessarily be doom and gloom because there is a broader shift happening, we expect, later this year in college sports. So there's a lawsuit going on right now against the NCAA, the House versus NCAA, which, if approved in April, will introduce direct revenue sharing for athletes, which in layman's terms is going to allow schools to pay players out of their budgets. While the specifics of that implementation are still not agreed upon and still not clear, this new system could make the raffle system largely irrelevant if schools can just begin paying athletes directly rather than having to I don't want to use the word launder, but they're going to have to funnel money through collectives into the university. So then that money can finally go and be filtered down to the student athletes. So needless to say, the bill is a slight setback, yes, because it's not going to allow things to happen this season, this early. However, there are changes on the landscape that could find some of those solutions that these universities are looking for, not only keep great athletes in state, but also bring in great out-of-state talent too, to essentially rob our neighboring states of their great talent, bring them in and continue to make Arkansas better and make Arkansas's athletic programs better as well.
Mark, and I'm going to tell you what, the big picture here is if you look at it all, like when this money started rolling in, they didn't realize how big of a snowball this was going to be. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's just a matter of time before, a lot of these kids are already getting agents. Now that's okay on the side, and everybody's now seeing the money, how big it is, and everybody's wanting a piece of the pie. And that's where these schools and the committee are going, wait a minute. They're going to get all this money and we're going to be outside looking in. That's the whole problem right now. Everybody, and I'm not saying greedy, but everybody's seeing how much money this is really producing now, and they're trying to figure out how they can do it. And laundering, that's basically what it is, because they're getting money in and they don't know where to put it, because you got to look at it on the big picture. Taxes. Government's going to want some of it too. I'm going to tell you that right now.
And they're going to get it.
And they're going to get it. So I got news for you. Somebody over, maybe not the IRS, but some office, at the Capitol said, wait a minute, we got to have our share too. And then everybody, it starts spreading out. Piece here, a piece there, a piece there. And then the schools are going, wait a minute, they're going to our school. We're the ones that should be in charge of it. Now, they spoke up without knowing what to do with it or how to structure it is the term that they use. How do we structure it? Basically, how do we launder it? Okay, you were right. But the idea is everybody's wanting a piece of the pie. and now they're trying to figure out exactly how they cut it. And that's just that simple, Mark. I know this is undecided. We'll know in April a little bit more, but by golly, this is something that we'll talk about later.
Yeah, it feels like multiple boats in the ocean. All of them have holes in them. The floodgates are open, and hopefully change is on the horizon that'll allow a fair environment, not only for the student athletes, but for the colleges and universities as well. Much more to come on the show. Don't go anywhere. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on 92.9 at KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
And we're back. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE. We're online at kvre.com and on iHeartRadio. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Well, Tracy, I know that you're all ears on this one. NBA All-Star Weekend has come and gone, but you and the listeners probably did not watch, and here's why. So many reasons. We start from the beginning with the slam dunk contest, one of the shining jewels of this whole weekend, the break-in action for NBA. And we've seen so many great slam dunk contest winners over the years. And we do have to give props where props are due. From the Orlando Magic, Mac McClung wins his third straight title Saturday in a performance for the ages, but many people probably don't recognize the name or didn't even watch the performance because Mac McClung, while with the Orlando Magic organization, is with the Orlando Magic on the G League. So this is not an NBA star. This is not an NBA All-Star. Somebody who, I got to admit, the dunks were very entertaining. It has paid homage to a lot of the great dunkers in NBA history, like Blake Griffin, where Mac leapt over a car for a reverse dunk to start the night, typically a finishing move. Unlike Blake Griffin, he actually jumped over the entire roof of the car and not just the hood like what Blake Griffin did. But each of McClung's dunks earned a perfect 50 score, but because of the lack of star power, the ratings come out and not many people watched to even know that this had happened. Winning his third straight dunk contest, you see all the stars start coming out on social media, on Twitter. Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant, Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks comes out and says, you know what, watching Mac was kind of exciting. Maybe I'll throw my hat into the ring. And then Giannis says, well, if you're in, I'm in. Maybe if you go, I'll go. But that's kind of been the problem with the NBA as it stands, because you have G Leaguers, which I'm sure Mac McClung is very, very excited to have that opportunity to get into the spotlight. Maybe it actually propels him into the league and not the G League, where he can start contributing and maybe earn some extra dollars. And, the story goes on and on. But I'm not sure where this really began, or where I should say where it really fell off. But the NBA of today is much different of the NBA of even the past 10 years, or of course in its heyday, really the big heyday in the 90s and the early 2000s, where the star power has dropped off. There's not a whole lot in it for the athletes right now. They've switched the format of the game, trying to freshen things up. Whenever you and I used to watch this thing probably religiously, it was East versus West. There were big implications on what would happen for the winner. There were monetary bonuses for playing in these games. We watched the All-Star game, right? I know that you saw a few of the highlights here. My son Ben came to me this week and said, Dad, look at this really, really cool play from the All-Star game. So he brought it to me. Giannis Antetokounmpo comes up with a loose ball. He's going to drive down the court and slam it in. Steph Curry is the only player that's remaining back on defense. I don't know why Steph Curry is back as the lone man on defense, but that's another story. Curry, comically, of course, lays down on the ground and lets Giannis just go in and just score a monster dunk on the play. But it's while it's a comical moment, and if you're watching it and you have the full context, you understand that the NBA All-Star Game is kind of comical at this point. It's kind of meant to be a joke. Nobody plays defense. It's not just a meme. It's real. No one plays defense. Nobody wants to run the risk of hurting someone or getting hurt to limit their chances, because here we are, the end of February. And while the NBA Finals are still quite a few months away at this point, nobody want to risk injury at this point. There's not a whole lot in it. With this draft style thing, it's not East versus West for bragging rights for your respective conferences. There is no monetary value that goes to the MVP of this game, which would inspire you to maybe play defense and help get that mark to get a little extra money in your pocket. There's nothing for the winner other than just spotlight. But the problem with the spotlight here, Tracy, is that nobody's watching.
You're telling me? Yeah, the numbers are out, and it was sad. It was very sad. There was more folks that watched, and we'll bring this up, that watched college baseball, okay, at the same time was going on, okay?
Which just began its season.
So it shouldn't even be really
no
spotlighted.
high-stakes matchups, nothing.
It had better ratings than the NBA All-Star Game. And even going back, like you were talking about, to the slam dunk contest. All right, McClung, okay, not only wins it, but he's won it 3 years in a row. If you go back, he won it when he played for Philadelphia. But now he's in the G League. Okay, why is he in the G League? And why did he qualify to, isn't this the All-Star basketball?
It is All-Star weekend. McClung is not an All-Star because in order for you to be an NBA All-Star, you have to actually play in the NBA. He's on a two-way contract with the Orlando Magic. He spent most of his career, even with the other teams he's been on, he spent most of his career in the G League. But, I mean, the numbers don't lie. He's won 3 in a row. That's very hard to do in any sport, and I get it. Maybe the standards are a little bit lower or whatever, but, I mean, he still has a three-peat, and he's still, by definition, one of the greatest dunkers in the history of the contest.
But, Mark, it's NBA. We just said it.
Well, let me throw another stat for you. You know the Boston Celtics, right? The reigning NBA champion Boston Celtics.
Sort of.
Jaylen Brown was the first All-Star to participate in the dunk contest. He did it last year. He was the first All-Star to participate since 2017. So he played in the dunk contest in 2024. That's the kind of gap that we're looking at here. We're into 8 years now where the All-Stars aren't in it. Now, fun fact, the most watched element of All-Star Weekend was not the dunk contest, wasn't even the actual game. It was the three-point contest.
Three-point, yeah.
Which also fuels all the arguments about why people don't like the NBA because it's all about threes and it's not about defense. Here's a fun fact for you. 1 week after my buddy Brandon, Brandon, the guy I met in Whataburger, he had me changing my views on Kevin Durant. Durant goes on social media and suggests just ending the weekend altogether. He said on Twitter this week, quote, "I think it's more fun to complain about the NBA than to actually watch it. It's crazy. Cancel All-Star Weekend and let's just give everybody a break since we're so miserable around this time." But does he have a point? Ratings are down. Lack of star power. Lack of meaningful goals for participation in the actual game. You're seeing little to no effort in making this an exciting showcase for fans. Kevin Durant may be big brain on this. Why don't just give everybody a week off and give everybody a chance to rest here?
I'd rather watch the Harlem Globetrotters, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Tickets don't cost as much.
Sure.
And it's the same amount of laughs.
The players are already doing this anyway. I mean, whether they have content out there anyway, and fine, you're shining the light on these, some of them are young, some of them have been in the league for a while, G League, whatever. Fine, you're shining the light on the G League people, but it's not what people want. I mean, yeah, you're putting them in the spotlight, but it's not what people want. Adam Silver's tenure as commissioner in the NBA, I feel like we talk about this almost weekly at this point. Rocky at best. And, he's looking to reinvent the wheel when I think that people just want to go back to the old same tires that they used to kick around whenever, a couple 10 years ago or so.
And what was this? Okay, Mark, I'm sorry. I'm a little flustered because I had people calling this week and emailing me in reference to what was this round robin fight? What was that they come up with as far as play and drawing teams?
Exactly.
What was it?
The whole draft style, we've seen with the picking the team captains, and LeBron picks his guys, and Giannis will pick his guys, or Steph will pick his guys in years past. And I know the NBA must be scratching their heads right now like, oh my gosh, how do we fix this? We've lost the viewers. But if you go and you literally look at any of the comments sections, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the fans will tell you exactly what they want. I went through and I read the comments section, and I didn't read all the thousands of comments, but I read a lot of them, and they all say the same thing. How can you fix All-Star Weekend? This is how you do it. 1, you return it to East versus West. You make it something worth playing for. I mean, the NBA Finals is the best team in the East versus the best team in the West, right? Also, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I would return the playoff advantage to the winning team in the All-Star game. If you make it East versus West, give home court advantage to the winning team. Make it worth something. I know the MLB tried this and the MLB moved away from it. I'm in disagreement on that because I think that's the biggest thing that you can attach to the All-Star game to really make it relevant and make it worth it. Have these players participate, have them actually try, because home court advantage or home field advantage in the MLB, yeah, that's worth it. That's worth it. And of course, you've got to make it financially worth it to the players as well. Cash prize to the hey, you're doing the NBA Cup. Remember this in-season tournament that nobody wants literally at the beginning of the season when nothing matters?
Nobody watched.
But you're giving financial incentive to the winning team there, the winning team of the NBA, but you can't do it for All-Star Weekend?
It makes no sense.
Why have both?
No, zero.
Why
no
even
sense.
have both in the first place?
Globetrotters.
Maybe the NBA Cup is even further detracting fans away from the All-Star game in February. There's a lot of problems with the NBA right now. I know that the fans will probably, and the listeners on the show probably agree with me as well. But if you care, even if you don't care, what would it take for you to be interested back in the NBA All-Star Weekend again? You can text the show, 501-915-1300. That's 501-915-1300. And listen, I know some of you out there are like, there's nothing they can do. I don't even like basketball. But try to think objectively. I mean, you know, if you did love the NBA, or maybe you loved the NBA and you don't now, what is it that would get you back into it to help regenerate that love for the sport again?
Mark, you know, they lost me. They lost me. You know that. I mean,
what would it take for you?
I'm sorry. For one, you got to get rid of the commissioner. It's just that simple.
Fresh face, new ideas, or maybe old ideas.
Come back with the older ideas. Absolutely.
Okay.
And another defense would be helpful.
Yeah.
They don't play defense anymore. And you're right. Absolutely. Have a true all-star game. Now, I know a lot of those guys are afraid of hurting people's feelings, or maybe not getting the MVP, or maybe even getting hurt altogether.
I imagine that's a big factor.
That is one of the biggest factors. But once again, you've got to redo this. This commissioner, how did he get the job anyway? I'm sorry to begin with. I looked at he was the leader of a huge company at one time. That does not give you, as far as I'm concerned, credentials to be the leader of the NBA. And I'm sorry, they're just not on the right track as far as I'm concerned. And I'm lost. I used to be a huge Boston fan. Don't get me wrong, Larry Bird altogether, the whole team, the matchup between Magic and the Lakers. They just don't have the magic anymore. You get a trade like they did in the middle of the season, and they send one of the best players and now they're all griping about because, hey, they cheated him out of $100 million with this trade and stuff.
I mean, they did.
To me, this is foul.
And of course, Anthony Davis is hurt, by
foul.
the way.
Oh, his lower back. I'm sorry. His lower back again, 17th time.
Here's the deal.
So I'm sorry.
I legitimately believe that the current era of players, now regardless of the lack of defense or the way that the game has shifted towards more three-pointers, I believe that we're actually legitimately looking at a really strong class of NBA players right now in this generation. But what I think we're seeing is a mismanagement of the spotlight by the NBA as a whole that's kind of tarnished the reputation of the league, has viewers turned off to the league. They're watching something else and just getting the highlights, or just, listening to the shows like us afterwards to get the cliff notes kind of thing. But like you said, it might take a change up front in the front of the front offices in order for things to finally change. But it's been a tough go for the NBA with no reasonable end to the nightmare in sight.
Bunch of big babies.
When we come back, we got a lot of local news to bring your way. Stick with us. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on 92.9 at KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
Tracy, in our previous segment, we talked about the NBA and talked about why no one's watching and what they're watching instead. You mentioned college baseball and college softball. Here in the natural state, maybe there's a really good reason for that. So we begin our fourth segment of the show this week by taking a look at Arkansas Razorbacks softball and baseball. I mentioned softball first because, Tracy, this team, you can be red hot, you can be off to a blistering start. This team is like solid magma out there. A huge start for Arkansas Razorbacks softball, starting the season 10-0 as of recording this show, including a no-hitter. Congratulations to junior Robin Heron on tossing the 12th no-hitter in program history as the number 13 Razorbacks took down Southern Miss and ULM on the final day of the Louisiana Tech Classic back on Sunday. Heron struck out 11 batters, a season high during her no-hit performance to improve to 3-0 on the season. The lefty struck out the side to open and end the game. Only 3 batters reached base on the contest, 2 walks, and then a dropped third strike with 2 outs in the 4th. Arkansas softball is off to its best start in program history, even better than the previous best of a 9-0 start back in 2018. And it's Heron's second no-hitter as a Razorback, as she previously registered a perfect game, if you remember, last season in February against Illinois State. She's the 3rd Arkansas pitcher to register a 5-inning no-hitter in program history, and now she joins only one pitcher. She's the 2nd in program history to have multiple no-hitters. Arkansas softball, you in, you watching? They're doing some great things right now.
Mark, well, you've covered softball quite a bit extensively. And,
oh, yes.
And so you're already on board. And for the listeners out there that have not, I encourage them you talk about excitement. Now, you're talking about girls that are young ladies getting after it. And when you see it on TV, it's one thing. But when you see it live and you realize the close proximity that they play and the speed of, I guess the speed is the term, but how fast they are and how quick everything happens. But then the techniques, you're thinking, oh, they're just throwing a softball 60 miles an hour down the middle of it. No, it's just not that. The way that they pitch and the way that their style of play, they get after it. I used to be a huge fan, and I still am, of a lot of sports like that are fast, baseball and such. But the softball has really come on. I mean, and it's all started, I'll be honest with you, a little bit following you last year, in the run,
Sure.
Yes. To National Park. But that now that you got the likes of SEC play with Oklahoma in it, and Texas and all these other teams, and goodness gracious, we think of baseball, which we do a lot for Arkansas, but now the softball, they are really making it happen. And not just against some pushovers, too. I know some of these teams were, a little bit Division I's, a little underscored, but as it is right now, they're on fire. And to get to watch some of the highlights, and it all starts, I'm going to be honest with you, on the mound.
Yeah.
They've got some red hot. And to throw 60 and 65 a softball, you know what that's like, Mark?
It's hard.
I can't even do that overhand.
I'm like twice their age, and I can't do it.
Okay, I'm like, God, and their play, though. And then, of course, here comes the bat. Wow. Now, they're knocking it out, too. I mean, they're one of the league leaders. I mean, right now, and I know the season's early, but, man, can they hit the ball.
It's all about starting hot.
Yeah.
It's all about starting hot, building that momentum, keeping that momentum. Sure, you might come from behind and build all year and get hot at the end, and I'm sure some teams that will make some postseason magic happen. It's so much better just to start red hot out of the gate. I've had the opportunity to call multiple games from Bogle Park in Fayetteville, and this is a stadium, this is a fan base and an environment that is super excited about early success for its squad. I can't wait to see what they do next. Softball is on the road in Cathedral City, California this weekend. They take on Baylor at noon today. They take on UCLA tomorrow at 5 o'clock. But of course, it's not just the softball team. It's Razorback baseball as well. They complete the opening weekend series sweep of the Washington State Cougars. Huge wins, Tracy. 3-2, 14-2, 5-2, 12-2. They'll give you 2 runs, but that is about it. This week, they're in Arlington, Texas. They take on TCU tonight at 6 o'clock. Michigan, Sunday morning at 11. Red hot starts for both squads. I know it's still the beginning of the season, but this is surely a sign of big things to come this year for both squads.
Oh, no doubt. And you talk of Coach Courtney, of course, been up the Razorbacks on top of the hill now for a while. But when you think of coaching, it's tough to think about the years that the Razorbacks baseball coach has been there and how close he's come. And they've always, I guess, speculated and been ranked and stuff like that and had these high caliber names coming in and such and this. But, from what I've watched this time, and of course, don't get me wrong, they have some of the kids that are still coming back from last year's big run. Of course, they got beat in their super regional at home. But
yes, they did.
But this team here, and I'm going to refer back to what Coach was talking about earlier, blue collar. These guys, they sort of just grind it out. Now, don't get me wrong, they've had a couple of good home runs, but they just grind it out, and they stick with the program and do what they do. Like you were saying, I'm going to take one from you, just one base at a time, one game at a time. And so far, that's what you've seen. And I know we're early, but boy, did they come out like gangbusters. I felt sorry for the other team in a couple of situations when they were putting up 6 and 7, and what they do, run rule them in 2 of the games.
Oh yeah,
run ruled them.
Yeah.
So now of course, and I don't know the background of that team too much. I know I hadn't seen them in
sure,
much,
but Washington State, you can agree, is not a nobody.
No, exactly.
Exactly.
No. They play some high quality teams out there, but the ones coming up this weekend, a little bit better credentials, and I think that you're going to see some play. I think you're going to see Arkansas do it again. Now, here's the kicker. They're not at home. They're not Bon Walker. They're down at where? Arlington?
Mm-hmm.
What? I think that's even going to make them more impressive. If you see some dingers go out there this weekend, I'm going to tell you what, that's going to be something special, I think. And if you've ever been to that stadium, man, it's pretty cool. And I bet they fill up some seats. The weather's going to be absolute gorgeous. For a change, we're finally going to get some good weather, and we're going to see just how far some of their balls can.
And once again, I don't know how he does it, but Tracy Simpson always manages to bring the theme of the show full circle. And talking about the blue collar aspect of it. Of course, earlier at the beginning of our show today, Coach Jared White talked about it with his guys with Jessieville. We talked about it really kind of with our NIL discussion as well, and with the bill failing. And so the Arkansas programs, they're not the highest paid programs in the SEC. They may never, ever be. But you've got this group of guys, this group of girls that's come in. It's not about the money. A lot of it's about the pride. A lot of it's about the opportunity to come in and do something special. And it's great to see programs like that don't have the highest payroll, don't have the deepest pocketbooks whenever you look regionally, but still being able to bring in that talent and find something special to do. I can only hope that the momentum grows and continues and continues just to burn brightly. We are still at the very beginning of the season, but it feels really, really good going forward. A couple of other things to bring your way, of course, postseason basketball right around the corner. Also for National Park College. Nighthawk women's basketball, of course, with the winter weather, things got all mixed up this week. Nighthawk women's basketball had a game floating that they couldn't figure out where that's going to land. Their final home game of the season is going to take place today out in the Kettle at NPC. 2:00 start as the Nighthawk women play host to the University of Arkansas Cossatot. That game will be live at np.edu/live. Nighthawk baseball will actually be out at Hot Springs World Class High School today, also at 2 p.m. They'll be playing against Dallas-Fort Worth. That will be a very good action to go see. Some home at Nighthawk baseball for you as well. Nighthawk men and women's basketball will conclude their regular seasons tomorrow on the road in Pine Bluff at Southeast Arkansas College. Tournament time right around the corner. NPC has already earned a first-round bye in the upcoming NJCAA Region 2 tournament in Harrison, Arkansas. And for the men, they're going to have to fight their way to the top. They'll have 3 games ahead of them in order to get that elusive NJCAA Region 2 championship. And on the men's side, while each team may have a number attached to its name for seeding, make no bones about it, there's no clear favorite in this tournament on the men's side. It's up for grabs for pretty much everyone. While on the women's side, this looks like, Tracy, that it could be the year for the Nighthawk women. They are just 2 wins away from hanging that first banner in program history.
Mark, and what a complete turnaround. We were just talking about this. They were almost out of it. Remember that? Literally not
last
playing.
season they were
not playing. That's what I'm saying. And thinking about this year, how they've turned things completely around, that just goes to show the intestinal fortitude, not only the players, but the coaching staff and everybody around them, you included, being out there and the emphasis of the fans being into the fan base and stuff. The Kettle comes alive, just some good stuff going on. And in the no give up attitude. And yeah, blue collar, you betcha. That's what they are, because they get after it, Mark.
Oh, yeah. I had an opportunity to write a great story on a couple of these young ladies that play on the women's basketball team who are also young moms, and the way that they balance schoolwork and basketball and motherhood. It's inspirational. I encourage you to go check out that story. It's probably one of the greatest stories I think I've ever had the honor of writing. Last but certainly not least, I want to give my flowers and my props to Christian Ministries Academy boys basketball. The guys win the Heartland Christian Athletic Association state championship after defeating crosstown rival Gospel Light in the semifinals. CMA took care of business in the championship game. They defeated Fayetteville Christian 60-57 in a nail biter. The Conquerors dropped a triple-double in the championship game, with Gavin Hicks leading the charge, 14 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists. Sawyer Oliver was also huge in the win, going 8 for 15 and finishing 19 points in that one. Congratulations to the seniors, Nolan Bradshaw, Cade Elledge, and Gavin Hicks on a job well done. CMA finishes its season state champions at 21-6.
Quick reminder, everybody, they've pushed Oaklawn's race card. Today they'll race, tomorrow they'll race, and on Monday they'll race. The big card is tomorrow with the Rebel.
That's our show, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, every Saturday morning at 10, right here on 92.9 KVRE.
Game over.